Welcome back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
And we are back for a third season of Bison Overtime. And sadly, this will be Dash's and our tech guy Coy's last season because they will be graduating next semester.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this has to be the final season, but however, that means we have to make it a great season. This is going to be the best season of Bison Overtime yet.
Okay, making a statement. Hey, we do have good content coming for you guys, new upgrades, new everything. So stay tuned. So we got to start this episode right. You already know we got started with football. Let's get into it. So NDSU are the reigning FCS champs.
9th time in the last 11 years. Now this year, got to go for number 10. Got to get a ring for every finger.
Right. And they're back at it tomorrow at 2:30 against Drake. Now they haven't played Drake since 1962, and they lost 10 straight against Missouri Valley Conference teams. So it's not looking good for Drake.
No, yeah. Last season, Drake won only 2 games. Their season opener against Division II's West Virginia Wesleyan, and a 6-3 win against Butler, as we all know, back from 2019, NDSU stomped them 50-10 in their season opener. So not a lot of heavy competition that Drake faced last year, and even then they struggled heavily. They also had only scored more than 14 points in 2 of those 10 games last year. So not a great look.
Speaking of home openers, the Bison have won 23 straight home openers. So, I think it's just the energy, and they can't wait to get back in the Fargo Dome. I'm thinking they whoop Drake 45-3, and they're lucky I give them 3 points because they have not been doing good.
There's a lot of pieces moving around on NDSU's defense this year, which we'll get to later, but I feel like NDSU's defense is still going to be able to hold Drake's offense in check. Drake couldn't get anything going on offense last year, and NDSU's offense got a lot of returning pieces. I feel like NDSU will be able to run right over them. Yeah, I'm going to actually go over you. I'm going to say 52-0.
But this is the guy, that always wants to play it safe. I know they're bad, but hey, don't take them for granted. Every given Sunday speech, or technically Saturday, what's up?
I mean, you still can't look over your opponent, no matter who it is. Even if you're playing an NAIA college, it doesn't matter. You can't just go in there all cocky, even though you've won 9 of the last 11 championships. That's when a team bests you.
We're talking about a team who lost to Valparaiso, and which we killed last season. But I understand. We're going to move into the rest of the season. So after Drake, we got North Carolina A&T. Now, this should be interesting because NDSU doesn't really play much HBCUs. So how do you think this is going to match up?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting matchup. Like you mentioned, North Dakota State does not play a team like North Carolina A&T very often. So this will be very interesting. And speaking of HBCUs, you don't hear a lot about many of them. You hear about Jackson State, Deion Sanders running a good ship down there. Florida A&M, they make the playoffs occasionally. But other than that, North Carolina A&T, they've been contenders down in the HBCU conferences a few times, but not that often. So I don't think this will be too much of a problem for North Dakota State. I feel like they should be able to win this game.
Same. And then after that, they get the University of Arizona, which can start some controversy, man, because if they get this victory, it's only going to push the conversation more that they should move up to the FBS.
Yep, and North Dakota State, this is their first FBS game that they played in 6 years. Last time they did back in 2016 against 13th ranked Iowa, and they ended up winning on the game-winning field goal by Cam Peterson. So this would be very interesting to see North Dakota State finally get an FBS team that wants to play them again after so long.
Yep.
I mean, they could have had it in 2020 against Oregon, but unfortunately the COVID season, everything messed that up.
Yep.
But Arizona, it's kind of interesting. It's FBS with a little bit of, I don't know how to say it, less legitimacy than normal, because Arizona, they only won 1 game in the last 2 seasons, and that was last year against California, and that was only a 10-7 victory, and that's because California was down at least 25 of their players due to COVID. So Arizona has struggled heavily these last 2 years. So North Dakota State, honestly, you could say they're favored heading into this game.
I'd say they're favored too, but I think it made it worse when Sam Houston, James Madison, and Jacksonville State declared for the FBS. So just off the thought, if they beat, an FBS team, we have to keep it moving. But then they got USD, and they handled business against them last season. So I think that's an easy win. What do you think?
Yeah, USD back at home, it should be an easier game. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. It shouldn't be easier. You know why? USD is still a playoff caliber team. And although NDSU handled business against them last year, USD can still give you scares. They beat North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome 7 years ago, so they can be a team that can give you a scare.
See, that's it. Any given Sunday speech, I'm going to let it go. But then they got Youngstown State from homecoming, which should be the same outcome as USD. I mean, it's Youngstown State, plus it's homecoming. We got to all out in homecoming.
Yeah, Youngstown State's been kind of falling apart the last few years, ever since their championship appearance back in 2016. It hasn't been the same for them ever since. They've struggled against North Dakota State every year, haven't come within 2 possessions of them in a long time, so I feel like it should be another dominating victory.
And then they got Indiana State. I don't even know when's the last time they came close to beating the Bison. I think we just got their ticket.
Indiana State got their first win of the season last night against North Alabama in overtime, however, so not a very convincing victory. And yeah, Indiana State, there hasn't been much coming out of their football program recently, so North Dakota State should be able to get the job done.
Yep, Dash, and I'm going to let you take the rest.
All right, so probably the most exciting game back in the Fargo Dome this season, at home against South Dakota State. This will be a big one, no doubt about it. South Dakota State being North Dakota State the last 2 seasons, and
it's a tough one.
You know North Dakota State wants to get that Dakota Marker Trophy back.
Yep. Like you said, the last 2 years been tough, man. We need to bring that trophy back to the Fargo. There's no reason they beat us at home and then we lost at their crib. It's just been tough for the Bison, going against the Jackrabbits. I think we need to bring that trophy back.
Yep, it would be a very tight game though. So Mark Gronowski coming back for South Dakota State too, that's another thing to put in question as well. Next up, another home game against Illinois State, a team that used to be a little bit more of a contender, but ever since James Robinson left for the NFL, they haven't been at the bottom, but they've been nowhere near towards the top of the conference either. So it might be a little bit of a slow-going game, but I feel like NDSU will be able to get the reins on them.
All I got to say, this game should be a breeze.
And then 2 straight road games, starting first against Western Illinois, which it's been a while since North Dakota State's been to make them, at least 5 or 6 years. But they should be able to get the job done there. Western Illinois been towards the bottom of the conference for quite a while now.
Yeah, the Bison did get a crack at them last season, but they went 2-9, so I'm confident the Bison could get this one.
And then probably the biggest road game of the season, on the road against Southern Illinois in Carbondale. And we all know what happened last time North Dakota State went to Carbondale, and a pretty bad memory.
This is one of the games I want to see. I'm excited for this game. Last season it was tense, competitive, and it got Bison fans on their toes. You know how Bison fans do when we're beating teams by a pulp. They leave at halftime. This is a game you stay all the way through because you do not know what's going to happen. Plus, we're away. We're not even at home. So I'm excited for this game.
Yep, and then the season ends back at home against North Dakota. And this will be another interesting matchup. North Dakota, they kind of collapsed at the end of the year, unfortunately, last year. It was a good game between them and North Dakota State at the beginning of the season, but it'll be interesting to see what North Dakota can do in this game against North Dakota State.
And then last, we got UND, the tragedy up north. We're talking about a team who had the audacity to trash talk us last season after they lost by 20 the season before that. Everybody, if you're a true Bison fan, you know the hatred that goes to your body when someone says UND. I'm going to say one thing, and people, I'm not going to finish it, but people can fill in. Sue, suck. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. All right.
Oh, boy. Trying to take us off the air already? Aren't you?
How do you feel that game will go?
It will definitely be very interesting. Like we mentioned last year, the game was very close, 16-10. It was a hard defensive matchup. I feel like NDSU has definitely established more of a running game ever since that game last year. So North Dakota State should be able to get the job done. It may be a closer game in the first half, but North Dakota State should be able to pull away once the second half comes.
All right, let's get into some preseason polls. So, NDSU took first in the Missouri Valley preseason coaches poll, which is only right because they, took the championship. And then they got SDSU taking second and Missouri State taking third. How do you feel about that?
Missouri State is definitely the interesting one. A few years ago, nobody talked about Missouri State being really even much of a playoff contender, but now they are kind of sub-national championship contenders, you could say. I don't know how to say it. It's definitely interesting how they gained popularity throughout these last few years.
Yeah, they just stayed down and worked hard. But how do you think that's going to match up for, actually, we don't take a crack at them this season, do we?
No, we don't even get to play them in the regular season. So this could be a playoff matchup for the future. And this will be, if they end up meeting in the playoffs, that'll be one that won't be soon forgotten.
Yep, and like we said, South Dakota State, that's one of our top competitors. So I want to see if we can get that win.
I mean, you also got teams like Southern Illinois, Northern Iowa up there. They'll probably be contenders for the playoffs as well. Yep,
and then let's get into the team depth chart. So let's announce the squad real quick. So NDSU returned 13 starters from last season. They announced the captains already, which was Destin Talbert, Spencer Wagee, Michael Tutsi, Kobe Johnson, Cody Mock, and Nord Gendorf. Now on offense, Cam Miller, my guy, finally got named QB1 at the start of the season. I love this guy. This is the epitome of a player who's competitive, who is patient. I mean, just think about the bad luck he's had. First, he comes in, he has to play under Zeb Nolan. Then he takes over. Okay, end of the season. Next season, what do we get? Quincy Patterson transfers. Now he has to sit back again. Takes the starting job again. Now the season. He's QB1. I'm excited for him. I want to see what he can do.
Yep, as he's a junior now, this is a big transition year for him. He gets to start from the beginning of the season, and he'll actually get to play an entire season. I'm definitely looking to see more, even with Deshaun Watson leaving, seeing more of the passing game from him. We ran the ball heavily last year, especially towards the end of the season. I would love to see some more play action passing, a lot of RPO, stuff like that. It'll be definitely interesting to see this offense this year with Tamir Williams getting the start at the beginning of the season.
Yep, and in the O-line, we didn't lose anybody. And then we got Noah Gindorf at the tight end position. He's coming back after that leg injury late in the season, so he's coming back to fulfill what he didn't, or as he would, how he came back. So, and then we got the big man, Hunter Luki, your guy, fullback, pure playmaker. I mean, this is a guy that can take it for 60 yards, and this is a guy that can catch 30. He's a really versatile player.
And it's going to be interesting this year. Coach Entz had mentioned in his initial press conference that running back 1 and 2 will not include Hunter Luki. However, Luki seems to be moving back towards his traditional position at fullback. However, Coach Entz did say that he is not going to shy away from using Luki as a tailback whenever he needs to.
He's definitely, if all goes wrong, put Hunter Luki in the game, and we'll make any pieces around him. So
you need a free 2 or 3 yards. Luki's going to get it.
Definitely, he's definitely that guy. And then we got Kobe Johnson, that running back. This is a guy. We can't forget. Dominic Ganella claimed the starting job last season. So Kobe Johnson, I'm excited for him. He got that 97-yarder last season. That was pretty cool. So we'll see what he can do. He's kind of I think he's a really patient back. He doesn't force holes. He waits until he sees the holes and he hits it really hard. I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
He's a very good all-around back. Got a good mixture of speed and strength, and he definitely showed the speed part with that 97-yard touchdown, and he showed strength on some decent runs as well. Mm-hmm. He can carry the load. He can run the ball at least 15, 20 times a game, so he's very athletic.
Then we're still loaded in the backfield. We got Dominic Ganella still, second string. He's an all-around back. He can run you over. He can take off on you. He can hit holes. He's explosive. I'm still a fan of him. He's a really good player, and I think he will see the field equal as if not as many times, as Kobe Johnson. And then we still got Tamir Williams. That was a power back. They did use him down the stretch of the season. He's one of those guys. He's a red zone guy. If you wanted to pound in the score, other than Hunter Luki, give it to Tamir.
Yep, very good. And also Jalen Bussey as well. He's got your little speed guy, but he's very seldomly talked about and very, And that's unfortunate, considering he's also a very great running back. There are certain colleges where I feel like all of these guys could be starters.
Yeah, I feel like each season is just lower. His playing time is getting. He's got. I don't know. I don't know if maybe it's his size. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think it is?
I think it's just kind of the way that Matt Entz has been using this offense. And he wants to use everybody as much as he can. But just more often than not, you're going to need these bigger guys who can carry the load through the line rather than a speed guy who's going to go around the outside and try to get yards that way. And we're also not forgetting as well in the running back core, T.K. Marshall as well, young man who also had great moments in the sunlight last year when he came in late in games. So it'll definitely be interesting. This running back core is so deep,
so solid. And then we got, speaking of a core, we got the receiver core, man. We got Phoenix Pros came back for his 5th year, and then we got Zach Mathis, Jake Lippy, and DJ Hart. Those are the 4 they named that will see the field. I don't know. How do you feel about this? Phoenix Pros, we've seen what he can do. Last season, I don't think he had the season he may have wanted to. And then we got Zach Mathis. He was partially hurt throughout the season, so we didn't see as much. Jake Lippy, he was hurt, if I'm not mistaken, the whole season, right? Most of the whole season.
Yep.
And then we got DJ Hart. We saw a bit of him down the stretch. He had that big catch against East Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. He can do a lot of amazing things. We just got to see more of it.
Yeah, but it's just, the thing with the wide receiver core right now, injuries, like you mentioned. Phoenix Rolls missed the whole 2020 season, and then Jake Lippy missed all of last year. And also, not forgetting Roger Nelson as well. He was also very used in the offense last year. And another guy who's been moving his way up the charts, Bryce Lance, the younger brother of NFL star Trey Lance. And he's been working his way up the depth chart, and Coach Entz has said that he will probably be on special teams a lot, if not on the offense a few times this year.
Yep. What is the defense looking like, man?
The defense is definitely a lot to talk about with the defense. And starting with the defensive line, Spencer Wagee returns to defensive end after an injury last year that cut his season short. Yep. You also have Tony Pierce, Jake Cava. They will also be on the edge of the D-line for a majority of the season.
Okay.
Interior defensive linemen include the 2 brothers, Eli and Will Mostert, and Javier Darrett on the interior D-line.
Dog.
And then at cornerbacks, we have Courtney Eubanks, Jaden Price, Destin Talbert, and Marquise Siegel. A lot of guys who have seen the field.
That secondary is scary.
So experienced. That's
so
the big
talented.
Scary part about it. They all have seen a lot of time. And at safety, Michael Tutsi, Dawson Weber, Dom Jones, Sam Jung. I mean, you got, again, guys who have seen the field.
Say that again. Who do we have?
A lot of people.
Dom Jones, Dawson Weber. Those guys, Pick City.
It's crazy. It's crazy to think that some of these guys that we're listing aren't even starters.
Right.
That's the crazy part.
Yep.
Now, here's where this gets a little bit complicated. Interior linebacker. They have been talking about rotating guys a whole bunch. Now that Jackson Hankey's gone, it is kind of confusing because there are a lot of guys who could take over those starting roles, but they really honestly don't even know yet who's going to be taking those starting roles. Yep. You have guys like Cole Wisniewski, Luke Weirtz, Nick Kubitz. Yep. However, coaches have also been talking about Julian Wlodarczyk and using James Kaiser as a linebacker safety hybrid. So there are a lot of names. All these guys, it could be a rotation throughout the season. We don't know. Or maybe it could be certain guys taking over after the first couple of weeks.
You know what's good? Drake is the game to play out all those scenarios, all the defensive schemes, anything you want to try, use. This is the game to do it.
Yep. Now, and that's why it's nice to have these non-conference games at the beginning of the season.
Yep. Now let's transition to the season predictions because I'm curious to say what you're going to say because sometimes you say some blasphemy, sometimes you don't, But okay, so I think the Bison will take it all the way again, just off the fact that our competition moved up. So now our true competition is SDSU, in my opinion, and Southern Illinois. That's who I think. And SDSU seems to crack under pressure down the stretch. So I think we're going all the way.
So, like, undefeated for the regular season? Is that what you're saying?
Ooh, I can make that claim. You think I want? I can make it. Yeah, undefeated.
All right. I'm not sure if I can quite. However, I would be stunned. I would be absolutely stunned if we lost 2 or more games. I feel like, maybe we won't go undefeated, but we may lose one game, SDSU or Southern Illinois. Okay. Or maybe a team like South Dakota as well. You never know. Okay. But, however, this team heading into December and January, it'll be scary. It'll be hard to defeat them. Yeah. They got a lot of returning pieces from last year. The run game was dominant. The defense was scary. It's really hard to beat this team. You can beat them maybe once in the regular season, but it's really hard come playoff time. The experience that this team has in the playoffs, it's hard to beat them.
Yeah, I truly don't think there's any team that's going to be able to beat NDSU and Frisco in January. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into volleyball, soccer, and men's and women's golf. Stay tuned.
My name is Becky Parker, and I'm a news anchor at WDAY-TV. I graduated from NDSU in 2010 with a degree in journalism, broadcasting, and mass communication technologies, and then I had an emphasis on broadcasting. Principles of broadcast production and advanced broadcast production. Those were favorites because they were the most relevant for career experience. You're calling people for interviews, you're writing an article. It doesn't just feel like an assignment, it's like actually doing it. I was the news director for the first full semester of the Bison Information Network. The BIN advisor here was very much invested in me to actually have a career in broadcasting. He helped me get my internship and my first job. The people in NDSU's Department of Communication are really interested and helpful in getting students the connections that they need in order to get a job beyond school.
Kid deserves to go hungry. But try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
Welcome back. We're going to start this segment off with soccer. So the soccer team is currently 2-2, and 2 of those are ties. This previous Saturday, they played Utah Tech and won 2-0. Started off good for soccer. Kelsey Callio and Olivia Watson scored the 2 for the Bison. What other stats did they have?
Paige Goalie and McKenna Strand assisted on those 2 goals. Kelsey Callio and Olivia Watson both led the game with shots on goal with 2 each. The team combined as a whole for 12 shots in both halves.
Yep, and then on Monday they played Chicago State and won 4-1. Paige Goalie, Jess Hanley, who's been on the show, and Loretta Wysick, Olivia Lavick all got themselves a goal. What are some of the other stats?
Olivia Lavick had 2 shots on goal, one of them making it into the net. Kelsey Callio had 2 assists, Lavan Douglas and Madeline Great had 1 assist each, and NDSU had 16 shots on the goal, while Chicago State was only held to 3, and NDSU did not allow a single shot on the goal in the entire second half.
Yeah, I think the soccer team has come in this season with good energy. As you can tell, they're starting off pretty good. On social media, they look like they're, and I got several, in-sources. We know soccer players. They're really happy about the season. I don't know, it's just something different about them. Last season it looked like they just came in trying not to lose or just not being in their head from the losing seasons that they had. But this season looks like they have a new good energy.
I mean, there's got to be a little bit of anger, too. Everybody on the outside has been talking about this team as being at the bottom of the conference again, maybe even being worse than last year. Mm-hmm. But, however, they have definitely picked it up to start the season so far. I haven't had a single loss yet. Yeah. 2 wins and 2 ties. Yeah. Not a bad way to start off the season. And it gives you that momentum heading into the conference. And even though these non-conference games definitely really don't matter for later in the season, it gives you that that happiness. It gives you that feeling that, okay, we can do this. We're better than last year.
That's true. Now, their next game is today at 5 p.m. against the University of Wyoming. Last season they tied. So let's see if the Bison can get this victory. They play again on Sunday against Northern Colorado at 1 in Colorado. So make sure you guys keep up with the updates on GoBison.com. And then now, after this weekend, they only have 4 non-conference games, and they will start conference play. They were ranked 9th in the Summer League, preseason coaches poll, which is only right because they didn't really have the best of season last year. But how do you think they are going to perform this season?
Well, I mean, look at the conference rankings right here according to the preseason poll. This gives them the motivation to play better this year. The fact that they were, in the preseason poll ranked 9th and where they were last year, they need that anything to tell them they need to pick it up this year.
They need that edge.
And it seems like they've been listening to those messages so far this season.
They definitely need that edge. But I got to say this again, I have several sources that's saying it's not the players, it's not the recruitment, it's the guy up there, it's the head coach. So if he can't turn this team around, he's got to go, right?
And this is a message for him as well. I think he's been reading into this message. He's seen where the team is heading, and I think he knows this is kind of the chopping block year. If they don't pick it up this year, he kind of knows what's going to happen. But, however, they have definitely been looking better to start the season, and that is a good sign.
If it was my opinion, I thought he should have got gone last season. That's what I thought. I thought they were going to get rid of him last season, but I guess he got one more in him. If he doesn't turn it around, do you think he should go? Yes or no? Because I know you're optimistic. You look at the bright side.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I definitely think this is probably the chopping block year for him. Okay. And, if the team doesn't pick it up this year, it's probably going to have to move on to a new coach next year. But so far this year, he's definitely made the point to keep his job for now.
Okay, moving on to volleyball. They start the season off to a good start, too. They're 3-0. They're currently playing at the Sawyer Camilo Memorial Classic in Lafayette, Louisiana. Did I get that right?
Yep.
I'll be bugging with the names. But
Louisiana Lafayette.
Yep. This morning they played the University of Louisiana, but sadly lost 3-1. Syra Tanchin, we got to get that right, led the Bison with 14 kills and 2 aces. What were some of the other stats?
Syra Tanchin had the 14 kills and the 2 aces in the game.
Yep, and then it started another game today at 4 against UTSA. And their last game of the tournament is tomorrow at 9 a.m. against the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. So make sure you guys keep up with those updates also on GoBuzzin.com. And then moving on to golf, they kicked their season off on Sunday at the Island Resort Intercollegiate in Michigan. Now, NDSU took second in the preseason coaches polls, and it's only right. NDSU men's golf did really good.
Yeah, I mean, the year they had last year, individually and as a team, it was something to talk about the entire season last year. There were so many guys individually who were breaking records week after week, tournament after tournament. It was definitely a spectacle to see all these stats and how well the team was doing.
Yeah, last year they definitely did an exceptional job. I mean, you can't forget Nate Diesel, man, who went down the stretch winning the individual title at the Summer League Championship, and then went on to the NCAA regionals. He really did this thing. And then, they got returning Jack Johnson, Brock Winter, and Nate Adams. Those performers are coming back on the squad. So I think they'll be better than ever this year.
Yeah, they definitely should be. A lot of those guys coming back. It's the same thing for most of our sports. A lot of guys coming back again, a lot of players coming back, and it definitely, the team can only get better from there, right? If they're getting more experience this year, and they were already really good last year.
Yep, and then moving on to women's golf, they kick their season off next Tuesday at home. They rarely play at home. They kicked off the season at home for the NDSU Fall Invitational at the Oxbow Country Club. Now, they took 4th in the Summer League preseason coaches poll, and I think they did him a favor because NDSU's women's golf hasn't been the greatest for the last couple of years. It's been rough for them.
No, but they had a few good matches last year.
Yeah.
It was a lot of the matches last year, they were never towards the bottom, which was a good thing. They were always like either in the middle or up in like second or third most of the time. So this was definitely a decent season for the team last year, but now they can hopefully more often than not convert those, mid-tier 8th to 10th place finishes into more like top 5 finishes this year rather than just having a few second or third place finishes.
Yep. And now, what you've been waiting for, and what I've been waiting for too, we got to get into some national football news. The NFL. It's been a lot of changes, a lot of controversy, but let's talk about the topic of Deshaun Watson. So you know about the details. What has his suspension been?
It's been 11 games now. It was originally 6 games, but the Roger Goodell and the NFL Players Association had to rework it out because Roger Goodell wanted a full season.
Yep.
So they kind of met down the middle and had 11 games, which I think is a little ironic because the game that Deshaun Watson is scheduled to come back, guess who their opponent is? His old team, the Houston Texans, which I think is very ironic for the situation.
Do you think that punishment was just due?
I guess so. I mean, the thing is, and a lot of people talked about over the summer, and what I kind of thought about was back in 2005 when Ben Roethlisberger was kind of going through the same thing. He kind of had a similar incident, and he was only suspended 5 games.
Yeah.
However, I think Deshaun should have had just a little longer suspension just because of how many cases of involvement this was, whereas Ben Roethlisberger just had 1 or 2.
That's what I'm thinking. I had a feeling they were going to try to make an example out of him. Not just him, but just athletes in general, that you can't do whatever you want and not be punished for it. I had a feeling that Roger Goodell was going to push it even past the original punishment, but, at least he's coming back in the season. At least, and he had to pay some of his money back too. What is it, $5 million or how much?
Only $5 million, but it was a $230 million guaranteed contract, so not much.
He's rolling. He's bringing in the dough. But still, I knew it was going to be a severe punishment. But it definitely will set the tone for other players that you can't do whatever you want. You got to be held accountable for your actions.
It's still interesting how punishments get handled out sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I know we talked about back in the spring, Calvin Ridley, he's got the whole year suspension for betting on his own team to win, which is kind of weird that that's longer than potential sexual harassment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of interesting how they line up these punishments sometimes.
Yeah. Now let's get into our teams. It's no secret you're a Packers fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm bringing a cowboy hat. You gonna see me in the cowboy hat. I'm bringing it. No Stephen A. Smith, but I'm bringing the cowboy hat. But so the NFC North, that's you. NFC East, that's me. How do you think the NFC North is gonna do? Because I've heard that the Vikings are going to be the king of the North. What's up with that?
There definitely have been a lot of sources saying Minnesota can take the North, and I definitely can tend to agree to that. There is a possibility with their new... The only thing that was holding them back last year was their head coach and GM. Now they're both gone. They're wiping the slate clean. Okay. A lot of their players are very good. Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins is a very underrated quarterback in my mind. Dalvin Cook is coming back as well. Hopefully he'll stay healthy the whole season. Yeah. And they're getting some pieces on the defense. They got Zarius Smith from the Packers. Okay. However, I do think Green Bay will be able to take control of the North still. The Lions are also getting better this year. Yeah. The Bears are going to be at the bottom. Yeah. But I do believe Green Bay will take the North this year. It may be close between them and the Vikings, but I think Aaron Rodgers coming back is going to help the Packers.
I actually like what I see in your conference this season. I want to see the Lions. I want to see Jameis Wilson and Aiden Hutchinson. I want to see how that's going to work. And as far as the Vikings, you're right. They are rebuilding, but I don't think that's going to be enough for the Packers, man. I don't think you have anything to worry about. Obviously, Jets. And Kirk Cousins, I think he's underrated too. I think he's an average. I don't want to give him, because it's the Vikings, I don't like the Vikings. I don't want to give him, but he's a good average quarterback.
Now, for your division in the NFC East, it's kind of interesting. You as a Cowboys fan are sort of in the same situation as me. You took the division last year, but however, a lot of people have been saying Philadelphia.
Philly. I'm not worried about that. We're the Cowboys. We're the America's team. We still got CD, our defense. I think our defense still can perform like they did last season. I think we have nothing to worry about when it comes to the Philly, the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly, Eagles, die. We're going to take the division.
The only thing I'll say about Philadelphia, they had a great offseason, getting Jamin Davis,
they did.
Davis in the draft.
I'll give them that.
They got A.J. Brown in the trades, so they've had a great offseason. Now all for Philadelphia, it just comes down to Jalen Hurts and whether he does good or not.
And that's exactly what I'm banking on. I want him he's going to choke. We've seen what he can do under pressure. That's exactly what I'm waiting for. They can talk, offseason. They did had an amazing offseason. But can he lead that team to an NFC or lead anything in the NFC East? I don't think so.
We'll have to find out this season.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Mentzel.
And we will catch you guys next week. Thank you.